The rooftop restaurant buzzed with the kind of energy that only came from soft jazz, warm golden lights, and the quiet murmur of money at play. Every table was a curated display of wealth, designer dresses, expensive watches, and carefully aged wine. The waitstaff moved like shadows, graceful and silent, each step rehearsed and refined. Ava had worked here long enough to see it all. She didn't flinch when politicians tried to flirt. She didn't stammer when CEOs barked orders. She walked with the calm of someone who had mastered her role, always pleasant, never passive. Her dark curls were pulled into a neat bun, her uniform crisp, her eyes alert but unreadable. She knew how to keep her smile at just the right distance, polite, but unreachable. At table 9, Trouble sat waiting. Logan Whitmore had that particular look of generational wealth, relaxed posture, champagne confidence, and the assumption that every room existed to orbit him. He lounged in his chair like he owned the rooftop, like he owned the view, like he owned people. His friends were already loud, their laughter spilling over into neighboring tables. There was that casual arrogance in the way they snapped fingers, the way they held their wine, the way they looked at staff without really seeing them. Ava approached with practiced grace. A tray balanced on one hand, she slipped through the crowded floor with the ease of muscle memory. She reached their table, lowered the tray, and began to serve. Logan didn't look at the food. "Hey," he said, voice thick with entitlement and bourbon. "Didn't you work my birthday party last year?" "Yeah, I remember you." Ava offered the professional smile. "I work a lot of events, sir. Would you like anything else with your entree? You danced. You spun around when we played that one song. You were fun back then." Her fingers tightened around the tray. "I was working," she said calmly. "Please enjoy your meal." He leaned back, grinning. "You should smile more. Come on, give us a spin. Loosen up." She felt the temperature shift. The air around the table became sharper, quieter. His friends chuckled, but their eyes flickered, uncertain. Ava stood still. "Sir, I'm here to serve food, not to entertain you." Logan's grin widened. He reached out and tapped the side of her hand with 2 fingers. "Just trying to make dinner interesting. You've got a beautiful face. Don't be uptight." A hush spread like a stain across the nearby tables. Ava stepped back, her breath steady. "Do not touch me again." One of Logan's friends cleared his throat. "Dude, maybe chill." But Logan wasn't done. His ego, bruised by her resistance, began to puff up in defense. "Relax, sweetheart. I'm a Whitmore. I could buy this entire place before dessert. I'm just having fun." "You don't like fun?" Ava placed the tray down with silent precision. "You're being asked to leave." He blinked. "What?" "You're harassing staff. You've been warned. You're done here." His chair scraped the floor as he stood. "You're going to kick me out? You. Do you know who my father is?" Ava didn't blink. "That's irrelevant." He laughed, loud and incredulous, like someone who never heard no before. "Oh, this is going to be good. I'm going to bury this place in lawsuits. You think you can embarrass me in public? You think your little job is safe?" By now, phones were out. Patrons nearby were recording. The manager, Mr. Callan, was hurrying over from the other side of the floor, his face pale. Ava didn't move. Didn't look at the cameras. Her eyes stayed locked on Logan. "You need to leave now," she repeated. The manager arrived, trying to force a smile. "Mr. Whitmore, let's just take a moment. Ava, I'll handle this." "She's done," Logan growled. "She's fired. You hear me? You'll never get another job in this city again." "I'll leave," Ava said, voice clear. "But only after he does." The silence was heavy. Then, someone clapped. Just one person. A woman at a nearby table, elegant and composed. Then a man beside her joined in. Then another. The applause spread. Not loud. Not mocking. Just steady. Logan looked around, stunned, his mouth twisting with confusion and rage. "You're all insane," he muttered. Mr. Callan finally whispered something into his earpiece, and 2 private security guards appeared by the elevator. "Mr. Whitmore, I'll have to ask you to cooperate." "You're siding with her?" Logan snarled. "Over me? She's not the one who broke the code of conduct," Callan said more firmly now. "Please don't make this worse." Logan looked at Ava one last time. "You'll regret this." Ava didn't speak. He stormed off, followed by his friends, who avoided everyone's eyes. As the elevator doors closed behind him, the rooftop slowly returned to its rhythm. Conversations resumed. Music played again. But something had changed. A line had been drawn. Ava walked toward the back, not triumphant, not rattled, just steady. In the staff lounge, she sat on the old couch. Her hands trembled slightly now that the adrenaline had passed. She stared at the floor, wondering what she'd just done. Wondering what it would cost. A manager's voice crackled over the staff intercom. "Ava! Come to the host stand. There's someone here to see you." She blinked. "Now?" "Yeah. And you'll want to come quickly." She stood confused. Her shoes tapped softly across the hallway floor as she emerged onto the main level. Outside, something roared above. Ava stepped into the open and looked up, eyes squinting against the wind. A helicopter was landing. On the building's helipad. Sharp, black, and branded with a golden W. She didn't have to ask who it belonged to. The wind from the helicopter's descent whipped through the rooftop, scattering napkins, rustling tablecloths, and pulling at dresses and ties. Diners shielded their faces, squinting toward the source of the sudden commotion. It was sleek and ominous, black steel, tinted glass, and that unmistakable golden W stamped across its undercarriage. The Whitmore insignia. No one needed to ask who was inside. Ava stood just outside the main dining area, still in her apron, watching as the rotor blades slowed. She wasn't sure what she expected. A bodyguard? A lawyer? Maybe some PR goons sent to clean up Logan's mess. What she didn't expect was the man who stepped out. He moved like silence itself, tall, composed, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. Silver hair, perfectly combed back. His suit didn't wrinkle. His presence alone sucked the air out of the room. People stood up instinctively, not out of fear, but something deeper. Respect. Fear of power. The kind that could destroy lives with a phone call and never lose sleep. James Whitmore. The billionaire. The empire builder. The man whose name opened doors and closed corporations. And he was walking straight toward Ava. The manager nearly tripped as he rushed to intercept him. "Mr. Whitmore, welcome. This is unexpected. I assure you everything is under control." James held up a hand. Just a simple gesture. The manager fell silent. He turned his head slightly, scanning the crowd. His eyes locked on Ava. Then he walked toward her, footsteps eerily calm against the rooftop's tile. She stood her ground. Shoulders square. Chin high. When he stopped in front of her, the restaurant went utterly still. "You're Ava?" he asked, voice like smooth iron. "Yes." "You're the one who removed my son?" "Yes." He tilted his head. She couldn't read him. Couldn't even tell if he was angry. His face betrayed nothing. "Tell me what happened." She didn't hesitate. "He groped me. He made inappropriate comments. I warned him. He ignored them. So I had him removed." She said it plainly. Without apology. Without pride. Just facts. James was silent for a beat too long. Then he nodded once. A small, deliberate movement. "Good." A gasp came from somewhere behind her. Her own breath caught in her throat. "What?" "I said good," he repeated louder now. His gaze swept across the silent restaurant. "Someone needed to do it." The tension broke like a snapped wire. Murmurs spread instantly. People leaned into one another, whispering disbelief. James removed his glasses, revealing eyes that were cool and calculating, but not cruel. "That boy has been allowed to float through life on the cushions of wealth and reputation. Entitled. Untouchable. Until now. Ava blinked. I don't understand. Why are you here? He reached into his coat, pulled out a phone, and held it up. A video was playing. Grainy, vertical, from a phone, Ava's confrontation with Logan. Her words. His. The crowd. The applause. Someone had already uploaded it. 3 million views, James said. In 2 hours. Your name's in every headline. So is mine. She swallowed. I didn't mean for. I'm not here for damage control, he interrupted. I'm here because you did something no one else has had the backbone to do. The diners now watched shamelessly. Some were filming. Others whispered, recognizing this was no longer a restaurant scene. It was a moment. James's voice dropped lower. You held him accountable. You did what his boarding schools, Ivy League professors, and PR teams couldn't. And you didn't need an army to do it. Just a spine. She glanced around, her hands still slightly trembling from earlier. I didn't do it for a spotlight. Which is exactly why I'm here. He handed her a small black card. Embossed in gold. It had only a name. No title. No contact. You're wasted in this place, he said. Come work for me. I need someone who knows how to see through bullshit. Someone who won't flinch when faced with power. She stared at the card. It felt heavier than it looked. The manager, having found his voice again, stepped forward. Mr. Whitmore, Ava is one of our best, but she's part of our family here. Surely this offer can wait. No, James said without turning. It can't. Ava looked from the card to the man. What exactly is the job? My personal aide, he replied. Travel. Negotiations. Sifting through sharks. Telling me the truth when no one else will. I'm a waitress. He looked her in the eyes. No. You're a force. The moment froze between them, suspended in time. Then came the next voice. One she didn't expect. Logan. He had returned. His face was blotchy from anger, eyes still wild. He changed into a dry-clean blazer but hadn't fixed the arrogance in his tone. He stalked across the floor. Dad, what are you doing? James didn't turn. Watching your consequences arrive. Logan sneered. You're rewarding her? She humiliated me in public. No, James replied calmly. You humiliated yourself. She just exposed it. Logan turned to Ava. You think this makes you powerful? You're a waitress. Don't forget your place. Ava stepped forward before James could answer. I haven't forgotten anything. But maybe it's time you learned where your place really is. Logan's lips curled, but James raised a hand. Leave. What? Leave. Now. We'll talk later, privately. Logan hesitated, then stormed off again, pushing past diners who didn't bother to hide their disdain anymore. The helicopter's blades began to spin again in the distance. James turned to Ava. I'm offering a new beginning. Helicopter leaves in 10. Think carefully. She held the card in her hand, heart racing, mind spinning. And still, she wasn't sure what stunned her more. The fact that she'd thrown Logan out, or that his father walked in and offered her a way up, not down. And the whole world was watching. The sound of the helicopter blades hummed low in the distance, like a question vibrating in the air, steady, insistent, waiting for an answer. Ava stood in the middle of the rooftop, the black business card pressed between her fingers like a secret too dangerous to hold and too tempting to drop. Around her, the restaurant tried to return to normal, but the energy had shifted entirely. Waiters whispered near the service station, diners leaned over their meals pretending not to listen, and phones lit up again, capturing every second of what was clearly becoming something no one had expected. James Whitmore had taken a seat at the edge of the terrace, a glass of water untouched in front of him, his gaze never straying far from Ava. He was a man who didn't waste time, didn't beg, and didn't chase, but he watched. He assessed. And he waited like someone who already knew the outcome, and was just being polite enough to let her catch up to it. Ava turned the card over in her hand again. There was no number. No email. Just her name and the golden W embossed above it. Somehow, that made it more real. She walked slowly to where James sat, her footsteps quiet on the stone tiles. He looked up, his expression unreadable but alert. "I need to ask you something," she said. He nodded once. "Go ahead." "Why me?" Her voice didn't waver, but something inside her did. "You don't know me. I could mess this up. I could take the job and fail." He leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the table. "Everyone fails. I don't hire people because they're perfect. I hire them because they know what they're worth, and they don't wait for someone to validate it." She looked down at the card again. "I've been on my feet for years," she said quietly. "I've cleaned up after millionaires. Been invisible to the kind of people who sit at these tables. People like your son." His eyes didn't move. He didn't flinch. "I know," he said. Ava met his gaze. "If I take this, I don't want to be a mascot. I'm not here to help you tick a diversity box. I'm not here to be paraded in a press release." A faint curve touched the edge of his mouth. Not a smile. Something sharper. "You think I'd waste my time with a symbol? I have more than enough tokens. I need weapons. You didn't flinch when someone with all the power tried to humiliate you. You stood up. You were clear. Precise. And you never raised your voice. That's discipline. That's leverage." She hesitated. "What does the job actually look like?" He shrugged. "Every day is different. Some days you'll be standing next to me in boardrooms. Other days you'll be arguing with lawyers, putting out fires, or figuring out who's lying to my face." "And your son?" James straightened. His voice lowered. "Logan has one last chance to grow up. He can learn humility, or he can be cut off. But make no mistake, he will not stand in your way." Ava studied him for a moment longer, and then her fingers closed around the card. "Okay," she said. "But I'm not taking it yet. Not like this." He tilted his head. "What do you mean?" "I don't want this job because the internet made me a viral headline," she said. "I want to earn it." "You already did. Then let me show you what comes next." For a moment, there was only silence between them, like the space before a deal is sealed. Then he reached into his inner jacket pocket again and handed her a tablet. On the screen, a draft statement already waited. Logan's apology. Or rather, the kind of glossy PR-crafted one she had expected, full of vague phrases like regret, misunderstanding, and learning experience. She handed it back immediately. "This isn't enough." He didn't argue. "What do you propose?" He reads it himself. Live. No lawyers. No edits. From the rooftop where it happened. Not for your company. For every waitress, janitor, and delivery driver who's ever been treated like they're beneath the table they serve. James was silent for a long moment. Then he stood. "You'll have it by tomorrow." She blinked. "Seriously?" He gave a small nod. "He wants a future. This is the cost." The wind picked up again as the helicopter's blades resumed spinning. It was time. He gestured toward the pad. "Coming?" She exhaled slowly. Her heart beat like a drum in her chest. "Not yet," she said. "Not until he says the words." He studied her. Then he offered a firm nod, an unspoken agreement between two people who understood power, even if they'd come to it from opposite ends of the world. That night, Ava walked home. Not to applause, not to flashing lights, but with a calm steadiness in her chest that she hadn't felt in years. By morning, the rooftop was booked again, but this time, not for brunch or cigars. Cameras were set up. Lights were positioned. And there, standing in a neatly pressed suit, Logan Whitmore adjusted the mic in front of him. Gone was the sneer. Gone was the swagger. In its place was the pale, hollow face of someone cornered by the truth. Ava stood behind the cameras, arms crossed. Logan cleared his throat, swallowed, and began to read. "I want to apologize. Not because I've been told to, but because I was wrong. And Ava listened, every word a step forward, not for him, but for her. And for everyone who'd been stepped on by a name they were supposed to be afraid of. Tomorrow, she would board that helicopter. But tonight she was grounded by something more powerful than engines or wealth. Dignity. And justice. Logan stood on the rooftop in a designer suit that didn't make him look powerful anymore. It made him look small, a boy lost in grown-up clothing. The usual smirk that curled his lips was gone, replaced with a tightened jaw and pale cheeks. Lights glared in his face, cameras from every major network lined up to record the moment, and behind the lens stood reporters who had been writing about him for years. This time, not in glowing features or glossy tabloids, but with sharp words and sharper questions. Ava stood just outside the frame, arms folded, back straight. She didn't need to be on camera. She didn't need to say a word. She had already said enough by making this happen. Logan looked into the camera and began to read. I want to apologize. Not because I was told to, but because I was wrong. His voice wasn't steady. It faltered slightly on the word wrong, as if his mouth had never learned how to form it before. I disrespected someone who was doing her job with professionalism and integrity. I spoke to her in a way that was inappropriate and demeaning. My actions were unacceptable. I take full responsibility. No PR polish. No clever phrasing. No hiding behind misunderstandings. Just the blunt sting of accountability. Ava didn't look away. Not once. Logan's fingers gripped the podium tightly. Sweat dotted his temple. Each word looked like it cost him a part of the armor he'd worn his whole life. I've grown up believing my last name meant I was untouchable. That I could behave however I wanted without consequences. That ends today. Because I now understand that power doesn't protect you from being wrong. It just makes it worse when you are. He paused, and the silence stretched long and awkward before he finally whispered, I'm sorry. The cameras clicked. The moment was captured. Ava exhaled slowly. She turned and walked away before the reporters swarmed him. She didn't need to hear their questions. She'd already heard everything she needed. The apology wasn't perfect. It didn't fix what had happened. But it was real, and it was public. And now, it belonged to more than just her. It was a symbol. A shift. When she stepped outside the rooftop exit, James Whitmore was waiting by the sleek black helicopter again. This time, there were no cameras. No lights. Just wind, steel, and silence. He looked at her with quiet approval. He did it, she said. He did, James replied. Thanks to you. I didn't do it for him. I know. He opened the door to the chopper and gestured. Now come see what you're capable of. She stepped inside. The interior smelled like new leather and clean air. The seat cushions felt like they belonged in a private jet. But none of it overwhelmed her. She didn't gawk. She didn't flinch. She simply sat down like she belonged, because now she did. As the helicopter rose above the city, the skyline of Chicago glittered beneath them. Streets she had walked every night. Restaurants she had worked in. People who would never know her name, but who might hear her story. And maybe, just maybe, realize they didn't have to stay silent next time someone like Logan pushed too far. James sat across from her, silent for a while. You still think I hired you just to fix a PR disaster? He asked eventually. She shook her head. No. Not anymore. Good, he said. Because that's not the job. He handed her a file. Thick, sealed, confidential. What's this? A company I'm acquiring. The leadership is a mess. The workers are scared to speak up. The board thinks they can sweep it all under the rug. I want you to go there. Listen. Observe. Then tell me who needs to go, and who deserves to rise. She opened the file slowly, scanning the first page. Names, titles, patterns of silence. It wasn't a job. It was a mission. You want me to be your conscience, she said. I want you to be my eyes where mine have stopped working. he replied. I'm powerful, Ava. But I've been surrounded by yes men too long. I need truth. Even when it's hard. She looked out the window as the helicopter cut through the clouds. The city was shrinking below them, but her world was expanding in every direction. And if I disappoint you? She asked, not out of fear, but clarity. You won't, he said. But even if you do, at least you'll do it honestly. That's more than I can say for most of my board. Hours later, she stood in her new office in Manhattan, floor-to-ceiling windows, polished oak desk, silence broken only by the hum of the city far below. Her name was already on the glass door. No title. Just Ava. She sat down, opened the same file, and began making notes. Across the country, the viral video of her confrontation with Logan continued to make rounds. But she wasn't tracking views. She didn't care how many shares it had. Because this story wasn't about fame. It was about change. And now, she had the means to make real ones. Logan, meanwhile, had vanished from the spotlight. His friends stopped returning his calls. His social media was wiped clean. The next headline wasn't about him. It was about her. Billionaire's former waitress now leads executive oversight at Whitmore Group. The irony didn't escape her. In one last private meeting with James before the fiscal quarter ended, he asked her, "Do you regret how it happened?" She didn't even pause. "No," she said. "Because I used to serve people like him. Now they wait to see what I'll say." James gave a rare smile. "Good. Then let's build something that outlives both of us." The deal was sealed. And somewhere in Chicago, a waitress walked home with a little more confidence. Somewhere in New York, a secretary dared to speak up about her supervisor. And somewhere deep inside a boardroom, a man paused before raising his voice at a woman he once thought beneath him. Because Ava had changed more than her title. She had changed the rules. And in doing so, she made sure the next woman wouldn't need a helicopter to rise.